check out Sporting Icon for great news and information.
All right, everyone. Hope you're doing fantastic. So, I've given it almost 48 hours to really digest and think about how I feel about this whole situation with Dillian Whyte and the whole VADA situation and everything that goes along with it. Because obviously, when the news broke, me and I'm sure a couple of other people as well, just get inundated with messages. You get inundated with comments here on YouTube and of course across social media. Some of them, they kind of like going on like I just failed a test. You know what I mean? Like I supplied it or I knew something. I mean, I had nothing to do with this. So I don't quite know why people are coming at me. Is what it is, I suppose, if it makes people feel better about things. Now, my whole thought process on this one, obviously, listen, a lot of people will remember when Dillian Whyte was going through it last time around the Oscar Rivas fight with UCAD. Of course, that was separate. That was UCAD. This one here is VADA. Now, he got his name thrown through the dirt. And I was one of the very, very few who publicly backed him, who said he's innocent. Now, of course, I could do it then because this was around the times when I would speak quite regularly with Dillian. We'll have like private phone calls and things like that. So, of course, there were certain things that I knew that weren't public. So, of course, I could back him because I felt that he would be vindicated. And I know who sabotaged him. I know who did. Have I done a video on that? No. Will I at some point? I don't know. But ultimately, he went on and proved his innocence. But what people don't realise is that during that whole process, from a selfish point of view, if you like, I got inundated with how can you back this drug cheat? How can you do this? How can you do that? Just because you speak to him, blah, 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 blah. Basically, they try and character assassinate me a lot. Ultimately, it worked out okay in the end because he got vindicated. If he hadn't have done, my head was on the block from that perspective, right? But back then, as I said, I was one of the very, very few who was publicly backing him. People like IFL weren't publicly backing him. They may have done them like behind closed doors on the phone on the phones to him and whatever else. But did they do it publicly? Did they put their own head on the block like I did? No. Did TalkSport? Did Behind the Gloves? Did Seconds Out? Did Boxing Social? Did anybody do that? No, they didn't. What they'd done instead was run around interviewing every man and their dog about Dillian Whyte. That's what they'd done. They were getting their pound of flesh through the AdSense and the sponsorships and the interviews. That's what they were doing. They love these scandals. They love them, much like I have done with Conor Benn recently. And what irritated me back then was that people like IFL and whatever got publicly thanked for backing Dillian Whyte. And I'm like, hang on a minute, no, they didn't. Not publicly, they didn't. I did. And I never got any kind of thanks for it. I never got the exclusive when the news broke that he cleared his name, all that kind of stuff. They did. So yeah, that irritated me. It did. But of course, as I said last time, I knew certain things. This situation, I don't have any information about it. Nothing. I know as much as what you lot know. I don't even know what the substance is. Does it matter what the substance is? Depends. If it's the same one that you went through last time with UCAD, yeah, of course it matters. If it's something different, then obviously you have to look at how potentially it got into his system and whatever else. Or is it a case of contamination at the lab, which of course has happened before, and whatever else. So I don't have information. So therefore, I can't sit here and go, he's definitely innocent, he ain't done anything, and here's why. Because I don't know. That would just be stupid, wouldn't it? I'll just be acting on emotion. So my thoughts on this situation right now is, well, after everything that Dillian Whyte went through with UCAD, and he went through the mill, he was on his knees. He thought he was done. He was finished. Somebody was out to get him. Somebody sabotaged him, which they did. And they nearly won. And everything that he went through, you would think Dillian, of all people, would be walking that fine line knowing that there's people out there, knowing that potentially if you take something at the wrong time, people come knocking on the door, do a test, they're going to bust you. So you walk that line. You are ultra paranoid of everyone and everything that you're taking. Whether that be those around you in your camp, when you're having food, when you're having drinks, you're ultra cautious. Well, what is this? Where's this water come from? What's this food? When you go out to a restaurant, whether it be that he was in Portugal or more recently out there in Florida, what's in this food? You're ultra paranoid about everything, because the last thing in the world that you want to do is go through it all again. But something slipped through the net, however it be. So he's only got himself to blame, and that's the reality of it. And I'm not saying it because I like the guy. I like the guy a lot. So ultimately, it's his fault, isn't it? He can't blame anybody else but himself, unless there's a contamination at the lab. Of course, there's outside other potential things. For that point, we don't know. But if something did get into his system, he's got nobody to blame but himself. Because he should have been cautious, ultra cautious about it. And much like last time, what's going to happen here is that when this news broke, platforms, TalkSport, IFL, Box Social, you name it, one of their first thought processes wouldn't have been when the news broke, crap, Dillian. Well, hopefully he can go prove he's innocent. No. Their first thought process would have been, well, how many people can we interview about this to try and boost the numbers, boost the subscribers, bring in the AdSense and all this kind of stuff. That would have been their thought, which is what I said to you before, Dillian, isn't it? That there's a lot of people out there looking for their pound of flesh. So, of course, when you're going around giving the exclusives to these people, they don't give a rat's ass about you. They care about the numbers. That's all they cared about. And they love this scandal. They love it. You didn't learn last time. Maybe you'll learn this time. But anyway, hopefully he can prove his innocence. Hopefully he can, whatever this situation is. I said it's difficult, isn't it? Because we don't know what it is. We don't know. But I'm sure we'll find out soon enough. And in the meantime, we're going to have to suffer a lot of people who's already condemned him. Okay? That's going to have to happen because people are just judge, jury, and executioner straight away with anyone, right? But we're also going to have to suffer interviews popping up everywhere from different platforms trying to get their pound of flesh. TalkSport going in on Dillian Whyte and everything, which again really irritated me with the fact that he gave them the recent exclusives about the negotiations with Anthony Joshua, when for quite some time they've been throwing him under the bus, chastising him. He's no good, he's washed up, blah, blah, blah. You see, this is the problem with people in boxing. And it's not just Dillian, there's a lot of people. When they reach like a certain level, certainly they don't need you anymore. It's all about the big platforms. And that's how I feel about it. It is. I don't want to feel that way, but I do. So, can I publicly back him? Well, not until I know more information. And that's the reality of it. And if it turns out that whatever this substance is, if the only way it can get into his system is if he allowed it in there, whether it be intentionally or unintentionally, he allowed it into his system. And he has to pay the reaper for it. He has to. Career over? Yeah, probably. Probably career over. Now, luckily for him, compared to a lot of people, he could retire right now and live a very lavish lifestyle if that's what he chose to do. A lot of fighters, if they go through this kind of situation, that's it, they're on skid row, aren't they? Financially, of course, is what I'm talking about. Dillian's made quite a few quid out of the job. So, ultimately, could he afford to have a 2-year ban? Not really, no. Could he afford the 4-year ban? Definitely not. So career over? Potentially, yeah. And even if he goes through the process now, however this process is going to go out, it's going to take some time. And he's going to take a kicking of his so-called friends in the media, right? He's going to take that kicking. And it's going to drain the life out of him. So I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see Dillian Whyte in the boxing ring again. I wouldn't be surprised at all. In fact, if I'm Dillian right now, Do I want to go through everything that I went through before? No, I don't. I'll just hand in my license and go, right, that's it. I'm done now. I'm done. You can do whatever you want to do now. Investigate. I'm not even going to cooperate with you. Screw you. I ain't even going to do it. Instead, I'm going to have my fighters. I'm going to sign up a few more fighters as manager, and that's going to be my thing going forward now. I wouldn't have the energy to go through everything that he went through before, and it was horrendous before. But anyway, listen, that's my thoughts on it all. I said we don't know the ins and outs of it, so I can't back him. I can't condemn him. I can't do anything right now. So people who want me to go in on him, I can't. As of right now, I can't, much like I didn't with Conor Benn, much like I didn't initially with Jarrell Miller and that as well. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens is all. Drop your thoughts below, click thumbs up, subscribe, catch you next video.